All right, we're going to work on graphing systems of inequalities, and what this means is we want to take a graph and put two inequalities on it, like two rules. So like let's say you had the rule y is less than negative 3x plus 5. We practiced how to graph this, but now we want to graph two graphs. So we also want to graph y is greater than or equal to 1/2 x minus 2. I actually want to put both of these rules on the same graph, which is pretty tricky to do because these symbols, these greater than, less than symbols, these inequalities, they tell me it's one of those graphs where I'm going to have to shade and test a point. But the shading, imagine putting two shaded graphs together. It's kind of messy. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Start with the first rule. Y is less than negative 3x plus 5. It means you start at 5. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here and start a graph there. And it has a negative 3x rule, so it's going down 3. So 1, 2, 3 over 1. Down 3. 1, 2, 3 over 1. 1, 2, 3 over 1. Here's my first line. It's really steep, pointing down. Is it going to be a dotted or a solid line? Well, look at the symbol. There's no equal sign, so it's dotted. So when I connect, it's going to go like this. There's my dotted line. Then, before I do the next line, let's do our shading. Let's test some points on here. If this is my line, let's test 0, 0. Just pick the easy point and write test 0, 0. And we're going to put 0, 0 into the rule. We're putting it into the first rule. So y is less than negative 3x plus 5. We're ignoring the other rule. So I'm going to bubble the x and the y, turn them into zeros. So 0 is less than negative 3 times 0 plus 5. And that's going to cancel these out, so I just have a plus 5. So you're going to have 0 is less than 5. Pass or fail, true or false, is 0 less than 5? Yeah, totally is less than 5. 0 is less than 5. So pass, which makes this dark. Which means on the graph, if it passes, this is the line, and it passes, you shade everything on this side. Everything that's on the passing side, so all of this. But when I shade today, I'm going to use my pencil and shade really lightly. Don't shade dark. Really, really lightly. Hopefully you can see this in the video. I'm going to be so light. Super, super lightly. It's so I can erase it later if I want to. I have to put one more graph on top of this. I have to put this other rule on top of this graph. So I'm going to be shading twice. Let's do the next rule. 1/2 x minus 2. It's a rule that starts at negative 2, right down here. So I put a dot down there. And it has a 1/2 growth, so it goes up 1 over 2. Crosses the line, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. Is this going to be a dotted or a solid line? Hopefully you thought solid because it has an equal sign right here. Equal sign means you connect the dots with a straight line that's solid, so it's going to look like this. It's going to be dark. Connect all the points. It's going to go just like that. And now what I have to do is I have to figure out where to shade. So now ignore the other line, pretend it's not there. Now I'm looking at this line where my pencil is, and I want to know, do I shade everything over here? Or do I shade everything on the other side over here? So I can do the same thing. I can test 0, 0 again. All right, test 0, 0 down here. But now when I test it, I'm using the other rule. So y is greater than or equal to 1/2 x minus 2. And I'm going to bubble these x and y's and put 0 in there. So 0 is greater than or equal to 1/2 times 0 minus 2. And 1/2 times 0 cancels to 0. So I get 0 is greater than or equal to negative 2. True or false, does that pass? Is 0 greater than negative 2? Yeah, pass. 0, anything's bigger than a negative number, so passes. So here's what I found out. On my graph, this line where my pencil is, I found out 0, 0 passed the test. So I'm going to shade everything on this side over here. Everything going up and down. This whole, I'm ignoring the other line. So here I go, shade, 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 all this stuff going this way. Here's the thing about all this shading. As I'm shading, do you see where I've shaded twice? Right in here. I shaded once for the first line and once for the second line. So this spot right in here has been shaded 2 times. So this is where you make it super dark. A really, really dark region. The place where you have to shade 2 times gets a really dark, 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 dark shading. This other stuff, this extra, some people like to use their eraser afterwards and kind of erase it. It's going to go away. What you're trying to find is the overlapping area. Where did you have to shade 2 times? And that's right here. So that's going to be the answer to our graph. So why don't you guys try one? Why don't you do a new one down here? A new system. We're going to do y is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 4. And y is greater than x minus 1. Let's put those both on a graph. Maybe pause the video, try it yourself, and then check your answer. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to be kind of quick on this one. Negative 2x plus 4 starts at 4 up here, plus 4, and goes down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. And I'm going to connect those points. Because of this equal sign right here, it's going to be a solid line, no dash, so totally a dark line. Looks like this. Then I'm going to test out 0, 0 and put it in the rule. And if you put 0, 0 in the rule, you're going to end up finding that it passes. So you're going to shade everything on this side of the line because it passes. Then you're going to repeat the process with the other rule. Y is greater than x minus 1. This is a rule that starts at negative 1 and has a growth of, this is like a 1x. It goes up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. And when I connect it, there's not an equal sign with my symbol. It's just y is greater than. So it's going to be dotted. It's going to be one of the ones that goes like this. Dotted line. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to test 0, 0. See if it passes. If you put 0, 0 in this rule, you get 0 is greater than 0 minus 1. 0 is greater than negative 1. Pass. Another pass on this one. So that means that for this line right here, the passing section is up above, going this way. So everything I'm going to shade is going to be up above here. So you can see where the dark shaded region is going to be. I've shaded 2 times, both times right here. So I'm going to make this really, really dark. And that's going to be my answer. That's how I graph a system of inequalities.